we can love more, we can achieve more, we can aim at much longer destinations in vulnerability. Because only in vulnerability we are humble. In only vulnerability do we listen. Arrogance कभी सुनते हैं किसी की बात? अहंकार में कौन किसकी बात सुनता है यार? नहीं सुनते. जब घमंड होता है तो किसी की बात नहीं सुनते. We don't hear anybody in arrogance. We only hear when we are vulnerable. So I would say that sometime my prayer is, make me vulnerable. Oh God, make me vulnerable so that I can listen. Listen to myself and listen to others. Because when I am arrogant, I will not listen to anybody. So we have to remember that the vulnerability can be a source of strength, not weakness. It is voluntary vulnerability. You are feeling vulnerable. You are feeling vulnerable because you do not see any strength outside as your strength. So all the Sufi saints, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ishwar Vidyasagar, these people they made themselves vulnerable. They had all the strength in the world, but they made themselves vulnerable. Ramakrishna Paramhans, amazing man. I won't say Vivekananda the same way, but I have Ramakrishna Paramhans, yes. He made himself completely vulnerable. He will oscillate between sanity and insanity. पागल भी बनते थे, पागल भी हो जाते थे, कभी कभी अकलमंद हो जाते थे. He had lost his strength, so called, completely. And in that sense, therefore he was powerful. Therefore we respect him. Therefore we love him. Therefore we learn from him. What I am trying to say is that we feel very powerful because we have connections, we have resources, we know some people, we have some backup savings, etc., etc. And every such resource prevents us to connect to someone with whom we should, but we will not. When we are vulnerable by choice, and we lose track or we lose reliance on any of these resources, then we can learn from a bird, we can learn from an ant, we can learn from a squirrel, we can learn from anybody. Because now the only strength you have is to be as vulnerable as anybody else is in the world. And then you begin to see, my goodness, squirrel is more powerful than me. If you come to think of it, when Lord Ram was on the bank of the sea and he knew where Sita was. Till he knew Sita was where, he was not worried. But when he knew, he was feeling helpless. He was feeling sorrowful. So he was sitting there and waiting what to do. And everybody was perturbed because he had no courage. He was looking at his resources which were external. The army, the skills, all that, and nothing of that was giving him the power that he can make a bridge. And then you know what happened. He saw that squirrel, गिलहरी, वो समुद्र में गई, पानी में गोता लगाया, वापस आई, जमीन में रेत में लौटी, फिर समुद्र में गई. And he asked her, what are you doing? She said, I am making a bridge. He said, what? He said, I am making a bridge. Now you know that millions of squirrels for millions of years could have carried all the sand that they had on their body and bridge would not be built. It was a non-sustainable act. So the squirrel was doing something which was non-sustainable. But it led to realization on the part of Ram that, my goodness, where I didn't tap the resource within. I was looking at the external resources. That man who was so knowledgeable, because he was knowledgeable, he was not vulnerable. The moment he felt vulnerable, he got the knowledge, he got the strength. He realized that if this squirrel can try, make an effort, who am I to feel lost? I will also make it, and as the story goes, whatever happened. So, the recognition of these resources is very important. We will discuss tomorrow. There is not enough time to go into this linkage, but let me put it that So access to resources, access to institutions. What is institution? Institutions are instruments of coercion. Institutions are instruments of coercion. I make you do something against your wish. Why? Because you believe that whatever norm it is in the larger interest. मर्यादा, मर्यादाएं हमको बांधती हैं, मर्यादाएं हमको मजबूर करती हैं अपनी इच्छा के खिलाफ कुछ करने के लिए. उस समय की सामयिक इच्छा, momentary wish, momentary desire, they make us do something against the momentary desire. They also provide us assurances. They also provide predictability in human behavior. They reduce transaction cost. There are many functions that institutions perform. But it's very important to know that institutions can of course be formal, informal, transient, or what you can call it, concurrent, episodic. There are institutions which emerge only during the period of crisis. When there is no crisis, no problem. When there is a crisis, institutions emerge. And institutions don't always exist in tradition. Lal Bahadur Shastri gave a call. Please don't eat cereals on Monday evening because country doesn't have enough grains in 1965. And the entire country started avoiding grains. That man, tiny man, 5 feet 4 inches maybe, that's all. Today, does our Prime Minister have the power or President has the power? No. But that man had the power. What did he do? He created an institutions of abstinence. After Gandhi, there was nobody who had that much power, let me tell you. That man was extraordinary, Lal Bahadur Shastri. He put entire faith that he has in himself on stake. बोला मुझे आपसे एक छोटी सी भीख मांगनी है, देश के पास अनाज नहीं है, क्या आप लोग एक दिन हफ्ते में अनाज के बिना जी सकते हैं? हमको समस्या का हल मिल जाएगा. अमेरिका ने हमारे खिलाफ पाबंदी लगा दी है, PL-480 के जहाज बंद हो गए. वी आर नॉट गेटिंग द शिपमेंट फ्रॉम US of the grain aid. Our production is low. There is a drought in the country. 65, 66 was a drought. After the war, we had a drought. One of the worst drought. Last time when people died on the street in this country was 66, 67. जब सड़कों पे जो लोग मर गए थे खाने के बिना. So he made an appeal in 66 and people respond. That means you can create novel, modern institutions. Institutions can be created. Even people still ask me, how did this boy collect these 104,000 projects? पूछते ना कितनी बार लोग पूछते हैं ना, बोलते how did you collect 104,000 engineering projects? What did you tell? How did you find? With whose permission? UGC did not permit. AICTE did not permit. Ministry of HRD did not permit. No director's permission was there. No vice chancellor permitted it. HOD भी नहीं मानता था. निकाल लाए लोग. They got it. And they put it. And today everybody is very happy because their names are visible. So it is all done properly. Credit goes to all of them. Now they all say, भाई ये तो काम हमको करना चाहिए था, तुमने कर दिया. बोलते कि नहीं बोलते? But how did you do that? I don't know. Ask him. He should tell us tomorrow. Amazing act in about 6 to 9 months. So this power is there in institutions, and the students who worked with him, why did he accept? They accepted his leadership. A purpose, a larger purpose. We don't want to do something which has been done before. We all want Indian students to be doing original work. We don't want to imitate. Oh my goodness, who are you to decide that India should be original? I have decided. The professor says, and then we accept it, and then we'll do it, and we'll do it. So it was a leadership from below, not from above. And it worked. 350,000 students' mind was mapped. Nothing of this kind has happened in history. It said 9 months. It took us 20 years almost to get 100,000 ideas, innovation, tradition, knowledge, practice in NIF, right? 20 years. Of course, this was a different context, that is all right. But even then, it was not a small achievement. So people can do wonders. People can do wonders. Institutions are very important. Institutions are, one Kenyan scholar said, Khalil, when people get in each other's way, institutions emerge. So if you are climbing to, let us say you go to Junagadh, that वो क्या मंदिर है ना वहाँ पर, हैं? गिरनार की यात्रा करते हैं ना. So if people are climbing on a stair, very narrow stair, and people are also coming down, people are also going up, and if everybody stands where they are, nobody can move. So you say, all right, those who are climbing up come on the left side, those who are climbing down come on the right side, and that is the rule. The rule is the institution. That's an institution. Technology, of course, we know. Technology can be modular, it can be integrated, whole range of technologies. Culture is both endogenous and exogenous. Culture is shaped by our actions, and our actions are shaped by culture. Culture is a bouncing board. It is a sponge, it is a spring. Culture is a spring on which you bounce. So it absorbs and it recoils. Sometimes it recoils things which we don't want. It absorbs things which it should not, but that's the way culture is. So please understand the role of culture and institutions. When Ram Mohan Roy wanted Sati to be stopped, he had no consensus in Bengal or in Calcutta, forget about India. He had no leadership, he had no asset, he had no power. But he was committed. This is wrong, it must stop. One man and his friends, few friends, half a dozen friends maybe. And he went to Cornwallis, Viceroy, convinced him, shamed him, cajoled him, persuaded him, and got Sati banned. He created an institution of enormous power. During colonial period, when you are not even having your own self-rule, you can bring about such a social change without social commitment and social consensus. There was no consensus in India. कोई नहीं मानता था उनकी बात. सब जानते थे कि ये सब सही है, होने दो ना ऐसा यार. And people knew that Sati was not voluntary activity many times. Women were forced to die for property reason and whatever else. It was a most unethical thing. He could do that. So there are all kinds of powerful examples in the recent history in our country where people have brought about enormously sweeping changes in our history with practically no strength from outside, no resources,